everyone, Guess is back. It's Kamish back here with another team preview, and this time we got Finn and Trustin Fields, guy that's Eric's brother. Eric's been here pretty much from the beginning. He moved up from tier three along with Dushan. They came in around the same time, and now we have Eric's brother hailing from Germany, and really excited to have Finn in the league. He's super active. Again, really good communicator, and somebody that I think is going to bring a lot of challenge to the other teams in the Solomonic division already. And I'm super happy to have Finn. I'm going to just share my screen now and get into this PowerPoint presentation for Finn's preview here, team preview. So offense, Finn, maybe 11th. There's gonna be obviously a number of factors why you're going to see why, and you may disagree with some of it, especially considering how many offensive players you actually have on your squad. And I can actually respect kind of what you're doing, but we'll see if it actually creates problems for you throughout the season. So starting with your quarterbacks, Justin Fields, we can't forget, I think he was like top 5 in rushing last year. I mean, the guy couldn't throw worth a squat, but he definitely proved to be able to run the ball. And kind of like Lamar, except Lamar's probably even better as a quarterback at this stage. In terms of quarterbacks, I gave you 7th for that very reason. Is because I think Justin Fields, and a lot of people are saying out there, he's going to be top 5 in fantasy this year. And if he's running the ball like that, 3 running backs in the stable, better wide receivers, better line, you got to think that he's going to have a better year. I mean, it's all pointing towards a better year for him and in fantasy. And then CJ Stroud's your second quarterback. I think that one's going to be tough. The Texans have made some moves to get better, but I don't think they've made enough moves to get better. There were so many holes left by Bill O'Brien on that lineup. But CJ Stroud, I mean, he does have some receivers he's got to work with there in Houston. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, the veteran, got moved over there. They've drafted a couple of guys. So definitely we'll have to see if CJ can hit his stride, so to speak, for you. But you had no choice. Looking at the draft, it looked like Lucas went with the 2 running backs. Then Sven picked the A-Rich. Lucas went Bryce Young. Left you no choice but to go CJ Stroud at 5, and you needed the quarterback. I think your second quarterback was Carson Wentz, so definitely the right move there. Running backs, I think you're quite strong here in the league. I gave you 5th. So I see you as a top 5 team at running back. You might, again, say I totally disagree because of how many running backs you have. And you know what? Having a lot of running backs can help you a lot. There is a lot of injuries that happen in the running back position. There's no doubt about it. Breece Hall honestly looked like he might have been the best running back in the league last year before he got hurt. Travis Etienne, I have him on my waffle team. So I'm a big fan. I think the Jags are ascending offense, and Travis Etienne, I know Tank Bibbs was drafted, but I mean, teams are starting to realize, listen, if these running backs are dynamic players, if we just lighten our workload a bit with some other guys in a committee, maybe we'll have this guy around for longer. I think teams are kind of catching on to that, but the running back position is becoming more fluid because of it. Roschon Johnson, I really like that pick. I did read recently that Chicago did say they're not going to treat anyone as a number 1 this year. We'll have to see. I mean, sometimes you got to ride the hot hand too, though, right? But Roschon Johnson, I think not a lot of tread on the tires because he was behind Bijan, came out with the same type of rush yards per average. So be interesting to see. But again, that could have been in blowouts too. So don't forget about that, guys. Kenneth Gainwell. Guy that always seems like, oh, wow, he's going to be fantasy relevant again. And then all of a sudden he's not. And that's exactly what happened when DeAndre Swift went to Philly. All of a sudden Gainwell's stock plummeted again. Zonovan Knight, not really seeing room for this guy on the roster, to be honest. Maybe in the beginning, well, Breece Hall's recovering from the ACL. So there could be some snaps there early on. So there could be potential there. Haskins, sorry, drafted last year to maybe usurp Derrick Henry, but I think it's going to be almost impossible to usurp a guy like Derrick Henry. Isaiah Spiller again was brought in for Eckler. It looks like Eckler, this for sure, it's his last season in LA, no matter what happens. Deontay Ingram, again, a guy that came in with a fair amount of potential last year, maybe a year to get better. We'll see. So Michael Hasty and then Deuce Vaughn draft pick there for Dallas. There's a lot of, like I say, a lot of running backs here, and anyone might be able to get their shot because of injuries. But the only two real RB number ones I see are Brees Hall and Travis Etienne, and they're good ones. And that's why I gave you fifth. Next up, wide receiver, and this is where you might be shocked. I gave you 11th. So in the latter half of the league, and you're like, again, well, look at my team. I got so many guys. Well, again, they're not great guys, right? Like Mike Williams hurt every year. Traylon Burks, a bit of a bust last year. Rashad Bateman, has this guy even played like more than 3 games in a season? Michael Gallup, same thing. Looked horrible coming off the ACL tear last year. Terrace Marshall, bust label so far. Corey Davis, what's his role in New York now? Justin Ross, this kid, his career, this guy probably could be a phenom if it wasn't for some of the health issues, but he still has potential, and he could be a deep flyer this year. David Duvernay, again, what's his role, right? Odell's there now, Zay Flowers. Then you have some rookies here. You went nuts on the rookies. Calvin Austin, Trey Tucker, Elijah Higgins, Trey Palmer, Marvin Mims. And I gave Milan a hard time for carrying so many wide receivers. It looks like you carry around the same amount, 13. The only difference maybe is, again, I think you need to have some guys to replace some of these other guys that are disappointing that are already starting in your lineup. Maybe that's why you went with the whole wide receiver terror. And again, whoever truly knows who out of these draft picks are going to do quite well. But again, when I look at this wide receiver core and why I have you in 11th, and you're probably lucky to be in 11th, again, I don't really see a true number one. You might say Treylon Burks is a true number one, but maybe he's a number one on Tennessee. But Tennessee's awful. So I think it's going to be a long year for you in the wide receiver room, unless those rookies pan out for you. Tight ends, I gave you 14th. I actually really liked your trade for Isaiah Likely. I thought it improved the tight end room considerably. You also have Peyton Hendershot, Donald Parham, and Tommy Tremble. I see all those wide receivers you drafted. I don't know. I guess I can always look back to see who was picked in the draft. I don't know if you had a chance to pick a tight end. You did make that trade with Spend and basically stole Isaiah Likely off him for practically nothing, which was a great trade for you. No doubt about it. He improves the room. But again, when I look at this room, can you say any of them are a true TE1? Like Mark Andrews is still there in Baltimore. He is still, Lamar's favorite target. So I think likely he's going to have a bigger role this year, potentially, right? But I think that you're still 14th in the league. And that's why you got that total offensive ranking that you did. The old previous owner you took over didn't put you in a great spot either. So, again, you're on a complete rebuild here, and hopefully you're able to find a way to get it rebuilt a lot quicker than the last guy. Defense, power ranking of 10th. So, again, you might be like, wow, 10th, like bottom half. But yes, it is bottom half. Part of when I look at your defense, well, first off, I start right at middle linebacker. So if you guys remember True North's preview, I went through his middle linebacking stable. He got 8th for total defense. I thought his middle linebacking stable was, well, so far out of the teams we've previewed here, so far, definitely was the best. And when I look at yours in comparison to his, you can see why I have you ranked, in 10th in defense instead. Nicholas Morrow might have a role, right? But Chanel, Tranquil are on the same team now. You did draft a couple of rookies there in Tutu and Sewell, I think is how you'd say his name. Still, though, I mean, when I look at that group, it's not a group that scares me at all in terms of point producing. DL, LB, well, you got, the premier player there at defense. Micah Parsons, America's team, Dallas Cowboys. He's always going to get a lot of attention. He's always going to get the benefit of the doubt on most games. There's no doubt about that. And then, are you a Dallas fan? Because you got Dorrance Armstrong and then former Dallas pass rusher Randy Gregory. Makes me think you might be a Dallas fan, but I don't even really know. But Micah Parsons definitely is the good spot there. And then a DB, Kevin Byard. This guy's been a pretty good point producer in fantasy over the last few years. Tracy Walker, I noticed you picked him up on the waiver wire. I thought it was a good pickup, but he also is hurt a lot. I've had Walker on my fantasy teams over the last few years, and he's kind of disappointed me a bit with the injuries. Marcus May, JT Woods, and then I'm curious to see if Jordan Battle will actually get that starting role over Nick Scott, who they brought in on a fairly lucrative deal for a guy of Nick Scott's caliber. So I'd be curious to see if they hand the job to the rookie right away, or actually let the veteran who they paid money for take that role over on early on. So to summarize here for you, Finn, and sorry, I'm just going to pull up your draft outlook here. I didn't have that ready to go. But to talk about your outlook here again, I know Stuart and we kind of joked that you're going to have a hard time winning the Solomonic. It's been me and him over the last 4 years, 2 titles each, and I don't see that changing. I think that you have the beginnings of a good team. You've made a lot of picks. It looks like for next year, you just have your standard picks. Your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If some of these running backs can actually pan out for you, a lot of these rookie running backs, 5 rookie wide receivers, just crazy the amount of rookies you have. But again, it's such a wild card on on whether some of those guys are actually going to pan out, unless your name's Bijan Robinson, right? And even then, we don't know if that's going to pan out. So again, no, Finn, I think you're a great owner. I love having you in the format, man. You're really active. Anytime I've communicated with you, I know it's been a quick response. So just really appreciate having you, man. And good luck this season.